And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Warburg Infusion Entertainment Review. It's time for episode number 56 here for our little show. I'm your host, Thomas, aka Mr. Warburg. Alongside me, as always, is Patrick, aka Mr. Fusion.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. This Yuletide season.
Yeah, we are, what, 5 days from Christmas?
Five
Four and a
days,
half
man.
ish?
Yeah,
As
we're
we're
about to
recording.
wrap up a fast 2022, man.
Yeah, that went
Zoom.
real quick. So it turns out when you can't make content for 2 months, yeah, it tends to go pretty quick. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's
And
true.
speaking of, so we're at work today. Oh, I'm at work today. And I get this call. I don't know, it's Mayo Clinic. I'm like, oh, I should take this. Oh, hey, in 9 days, I have a colonoscopy that was not on the schedule as of this morning. And an MRI in the afternoon. It's like, huh. I
Well, at least
didn't.
you get to wrap it up in this year.
Yeah,
You don't have
it's
to start
done
off the new
on
year.
this insurance year. It's not on next
Yeah.
year's. So then we get my brother's wedding done, and then I can finally get the surgery to get rid of the ostomy bag. It's gonna be fine, assuming I get reimbursed for my medication and I don't have to deal with that medical bill. The American insurance system is dog shit.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But let's not talk about things that suck.
Yeah.
Though there are silver linings, like our chat mentions. Thanks, Chris. And if you want to watch these episodes live, just a reminder, we do record our show while we live stream it over at twitch.tv/MrWartburg. That's MrWartburg, like the college. So go check it out. Or the castle, whichever term you prefer. The castle is the inspiration for the name of the college. So it's a castle in Eisenach, Germany. I don't know. It's the sister city of the town where the college is.
In
Anyway,
Germany, I guarantee you it's called Isengard quite a bit by people. It just
probably
feels
because of the
natural, right?
Tolkienness of it all.
And there's a castle there in Isengard
It's
too. So,
it's the castle where the Bible was translated to German in the 1400s,
oh, I did not know that.
where
Cool.
Martin Luther translated it, and where the Lutheran faith was born. Because
Okay.
at the time, couldn't read the Bible if you didn't know Hebrew.
I made a Lord of the Rings reference, and before we jump into what we're watching or what we've been watching, I need to ask you about what I should do strategically on what I need to watch.
Okay.
So in January, the Alamo Drafthouse is doing a weekly, 3 weeks in a row, extended edition of the Lord of the Rings showings. So I'm debating on doing this. It's the 4 hours, so 4 hours one Saturday, 4 hours the next Saturday, and 4 hours the next Saturday. What do you think, man? Should I jump in on this? I don't know.
When's the last time you watched the extended?
I actually watched the extended about 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah.
Okay. I'd say do it because it's a fun experience. Almost just for the first one, because the middle two, you can definitely tell why they edited the scenes out.
Yeah.
Whereas the first one is greatly enhanced by it being the extended scene, like with all the different scenes that get added in. But yeah, it's still going to be a great time at the theater, though.
I may just go catch just because I love Two Towers, my
Great
favorite one
film.
of the three. But I will say the extended edition of Fellowship makes Fellowship awesome.
Oh,
It makes
it's
it awesome.
fantastic.
And so I may just go watch Fellowship. I may do that, but remember, I've got my pass, so I can only pay the taxes on it, so it's like $2 a ticket, so I can go for $6, because I have my pass. But 3 Saturdays in a row, man, to get popcorn or grab some, fried mozzarella sticks, get a soda, come on. But it's
So
4 hours,
assume that
man.
means you're not watching any NFL playoffs then.
That's the problem there.
You're not going to watch the Vikings come back from 33 fucking nothing.
You know what, man? I feel
That
bad
was
because
insane.
I was picking on you about the Vikings because I was like, here we go again, where they crush their fans' hopes, but then they completely just, God, dog.
Just when you think
man.
they can't make any more of an ass of themselves, they
Let's
do
see.
something that totally redeems them.
So, but you cannot be there is no redemption for Kirk Cousins. He is who he is, right?
No, I mean, and to be fair, he's not a bad quarterback.
He's not a great quarterback.
He's not a great quarterback that can't overcome a bad defense. Like, we have a bad defense.
Yeah.
Like, if Harrison Smith isn't playing at Hall of Fame level, we have a bad defense. That's not good. All of a sudden, Eric Kendricks looks like an old man, right? Like, that's not good.
Well, the big thing about NFL quarterbacks, they always say, is if they're top talents and they don't have enough talent around weapons around them, they're doing it in spite of, like Tom Brady, right? One thing I'll give Kirk Cousins, when he has weapons around him, he uses them wherever he's been, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say, like, at least he gets the job done in that regard.
I think he's low end top 10 to 15 quarterback.
I'm okay with saying
Because like there's a big drop off after the top 5.
I'm gonna say he's hovering around the top half. Yeah, yeah, definitely because I don't want to. We're gonna do this now, but I mean, yeah, obviously Abert's on that top 10 list for sure. But good, yeah, you know what, man, I may have to think about this hard because we got playoffs coming around, and last year's playoffs were unbelievable. The Bills,
Yeah, the Bills run
the
was
Bengals,
crazy.
the Chiefs. Oh man, it was an incredible playoff last year. So I don't know. We have to rethink this. You've given me something to really think about.
Exactly. But I don't know if you saw sorry to make this a quick college football podcast. Caden Proctor flipping to Alabama
Yeah. Oh, 5-star
day
lineman, man.
before the early signing day. Like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna commit. If you're gonna open your recruitment, do that a month ago. Don't do it 2 days before early signing day. Are you kidding me? Stupid.
Why make that move though? Obviously, Alabama doesn't have NIL money.
Yes, they
You
do.
think
Their
so?
boosters are loaded.
Well, remember when NIL kicked off last year, Nick Saban cried. So he obviously got a budget of NIL bills going into this
Yes.
offseason. Like basically he cried to
And
college
in
football
fairness,
saying it
it's not
wasn't fair.
exactly like Alabama's a wasteland of offensive line talent. Like,
No, it's fair.
they're
It's fair.
probably the only school legitimately better than Iowa at developing offensive linemen. So like, it's not that bad. It's not like you
It's
went to
not like
Oregon.
yeah, it's not like he's going to Oregon or Texas Tech or somewhere like
Yeah,
that, you know.
you went to a
Okay.
legitimate playoff contender and championship contender with a great track record. It'd be like if a tight end, like if you're a tight end, you're looking at Iowa. Like it's just that's where the list starts. If you're a top tight end talent, right? Alabama's top of that list for linemen. So I don't really blame him. It's just the timing. Like, come on, the day before signing day, really? You couldn't give the coaching staff any heads up of hey, go recruit someone else.
Maybe he knows something we don't about a certain offensive coordinator.
That would if we don't fire him, if he's not demoted, I legit may just say fuck it. I'm a full time Vikings fan, which would be
Hey,
insane because the
you could
Vikings are
you could
terrible.
you could root for Wisconsin or Nebraska. They're
No,
both going to
no,
be better
thank. I'm
next
not.
year.
I'm just done with college. If we don't fire Brian Ferentz.
Okay,
All
okay,
right, let's
that's
move
cool.
on. Let's move on. We're done
That's
with sports. We're
okay.
done with sports.
Enough with the sports podcast. Let's
Sorry,
talk.
everyone that's listening to this. Maybe you're on the new platform. Like we just finally got on the Samsung one, which we had a huge week of downloads, which was crazy. But we tend to go on tangents about random things, and Fusion and I are both sports nerds,
Yep.
where we like nerdy shit and also like sports.
Yeah.
So like you might see me rocking Hawkeye stuff, Fusion rocking Texans, or General Houston garb, or the Texas Longhorns, right? Like
Yep.
we kind of we walk in both worlds as it were. Kind of like Blade, but of sports nerds. That's a bad analogy. Anyway, let's move on to things like what we're watching and playing.
Okay.
Fusion, what have you been watching lately?
Watching. Let's see here. I started Lower Decks. It's a funny show. I'm about 6 episodes into the first season, I think. Yeah, 5 or 6
So have you gotten
episodes.
to the part where you're introduced to Badgie?
Yes.
Okay, basically from there on, they start to like actually hone in on the characters and like
Okay, good.
get better.
That was going to be my complaint was there's not a lot of character depth in the first few episodes of the first season, but I can see where you keep saying that there's promise. You could kind of tell that they're kind of lining things up, but I mean it's not like
It's not Strange New
Worlds
Worlds where it was just
well,
bangers
there's
out of the
depth,
gate.
like just God, I mean just character depth and storytelling, amazing storytelling from the get go. But so I've been jumping in on that. Catching up on some other just random TV shows, documentaries, docuseries, stuff like that. And then slowly turning my way through Agents of Shield again because I'm in season 3. Love Agents of Shield, such a great show, man. I would really like for Disney Plus to do something with that. You know, there's an opportunity there to bring them back as a mini series and kind of tie it back in, especially if Daredevil is successful. And let's see what else. And just playing. I've been playing some Fortnite, a little bit of Fortnite, going a little crazy with that. Trying Call of Duty again, Modern Warfare. Now that I had to have a whole new rebuilt PC, it runs a lot smoother. So I've been playing Warzone 2 on that, and that's now that I have a new PS5, I got to figure out what game I'm going to play first. If it's going to be Ragnarok or
Ragnarok.
it's got to
Yeah,
be
I assume
Ragnarok.
you played 2018.
Yes, of course.
Ragnarok was, I mean, it lived up to the hype.
Okay. Well then, I'll be doing that over the break. So yeah, basically, I'm fortunate enough to work at a place where we shut down. We basically pay our staff for the week between Christmas and New Year's, and we take a week off, and we pay them for that, a week off as a thank you. And so I get a week off. And my wife actually asked me the other day, "What are you gonna do with all your spare time?" I'm like, "Shoot, I don't know, man." But I am gonna play some games. That's a fact. I'm gonna play some games, man. Not gonna watch a whole lot of content because I'm gonna have to pace myself because from January to December of next year, there's just wall to wall shit to watch, whether it be TV or movies, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be
So,
a good time.
what about you? What have you been up to the last couple weeks?
Oddly, I've been watching a lot of clips of Hellboy 2, and I kind of want to watch back to back 1 and 2. The OG Del Toro, Ron
Yes.
Perlman Hellboys. And I got a $15 gift card to Amazon. So, like, I could buy it on 4K because I
Ooh.
have them both on Blu-ray, but the
Okay.
2005 did not have a digital copy, and it was just regular Blu-ray. Same with Hellboy 2, that had digital. But I kind of want to upgrade it to 4K because the 4K review actually is pretty good on it. They're like the transfer was fantastic,
Hmm.
and it's Del Toro, so like the masters were great, like great to
Yeah.
work with in terms of remastering. So I kind of want to go back and buy that. The problem is Hellboy 1 doesn't have digital on any of the copies in 4K, which is wild to me. Not that I can find anyway,
Okay.
because the 4K Blu-ray that I found, and maybe I'm just looking at it wrong. Maybe I'll need to just maybe it has a Sony like ultraviolet one and it's just not listed on the specs or something.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to buy that, and maybe like Best Buy or something has the one with digital, and then I'll buy Hellboy 2 on 4K because I'd love to upgrade both of those to 4K and have them in my collection. Which I have a bunch of movies. You can maybe see them right
Yep.
here.
That little
They're just
stack.
behind the mic arm. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of movies for Christmas to watch. Like Nobody. I got No Time to Die, Knives Out, Big Lebowski, The Goonies, Shawshank Redemption, Inglourious Bastards, Looper. I bought Dune. That was pretty much my whole 4K collection that I like from this batch that I bought on Black Friday. I think I spent like $50 for all those movies.
Okay. So wait, you said the Hellboy 4K, you said it doesn't come with digital, right?
Nope.
That's the problem. Okay. Because I'm looking at it right now and it comes with this is probably the reason why. It has both the copies of the theatrical and the director's cut on this
Yeah.
4K.
So I'm
That's
wondering
why.
if a different like maybe Target or something has it's just the 4K and the digital,
Yeah.
you know, just to see because I would love to have that on digital and add that to my Voodoo library.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So yeah, I got to go rearrange one of these nights. I got to get out to my hallway and rearrange my collection because it's a mess. Because I'm in the middle of converting Blu-ray to 4K, and I got dope duplicates of things, and I got stuff in like 3 different rooms. It's kind of nuts.
Damn shame we never got the third film in that series, man.
I still can't believe we didn't. Like, it's Del Toro. Like, he's still making awesome content.
Yep.
Like, he's working with Netflix. Like, Netflix, Hellboy is your niche.
Yeah.
Like, when I think of the service it should go on, it's Netflix. Like Witcher, right? Like that it's not Groening, the guy that did Simpsons.
Yep.
His
Matt Groening.
fantasy animation series, right? Like Dragon Prince, like they do fantasy shows. Give us a Hellboy, either series and or a movie to cap it all off. And you don't have to have live action.
Yeah.
Obviously everyone's aged up. Selma Blair has, I believe it's MS, she has.
Yes. Yes.
But I don't believe it's affected her voice.
I
Maybe
think
it
she has
has.
a bit of a slur, but she's still acting. So I think, like I don't think it's that bad. I don't think I don't think it's really affected her voice too much, but yeah, we could I
And
think
that's something
seriously, man. Yeah.
fans would be like, yeah, we're cool with it, right? Like, just give us it, right? Like Doug Jones is still doing his thing. He's on Star Trek, right? Like he's got big roles. Like, just let's make it happen. Let's get an animated full feature sequel, and then just cap off that universe. It needs it because man, those movies hold
Yeah.
up so well. They like the one is almost 20 years old and it looks like it just came out. Like it's awesome. Can't believe we haven't got a follow up to it.
Yeah.
Also, can't believe the 2018 one bombed that bad. Because it's David Harbour. Like, everybody loves that dude.
Yeah. I think well, I think people were really pissed that we didn't get Del Toro's third
That's
film.
part of it too. Is like
Yeah,
he acknowledged, and he did an interview recently where he was acknowledging that, like, yeah, I learned to stay away from IPs like that where they're beloved because they were almost like unfinished. And
yeah.
stepping in as the new guy, it's a no-win scenario. So he's just like, I shouldn't have done that. It was stupid. So like, I think if they're ever going to do anything else with that IP in terms of animation or live action, you need to you need to cap that off. You can't just say we're moving on. Like, you need to actually give that resolution. And part of that is it persists because it holds up so well.
Yeah.
So like, you kind of have to finish it. It'd be awesome to watch. I would love to see what they do with it. I'd love to see what Del Toro does now, you know, after everything he's done since. That'd be a pretty cool thing to see. Game stuff for me. I got Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I'm gonna play that next week. Start that hopefully. Once the colonoscopy's done, that came out of nowhere. So we'll play that on stream. So stay tuned for that. But that's about it for me. I've been itching to rewatch Justified, and I might have to, because we'll start here as we work into some of our big stories. But I was similar to that interview. I think it was an Entertainment Weekly interview with Harbor. I was reading their preview of Justified. I think it's City Primeval, or they're just calling it Primeval,
Primeval, I think is what they're just calling
which
it.
is the
Yeah.
based on Elmer Leonard's book City Primeval, which is the same
Yep.
character, Raylan Givens, going to Detroit, and they're adapting it for a show. And it's almost been a movie a few different times. Like
Mhm.
Tarantino almost did it as a film. A few others almost did it as either a series or a film. And it was actually Oliphant himself who was with Tarantino. They were both reading the book and went, you know, we could make this a series, a one season one off with FX and just do it. And so he went to back to the creators and showrunners of Justified when it aired originally and said, "Hey, we could do this. I'd come back. Let's go." And he also got his daughter to play his daughter on the show as Raylan Givens. And man, it's got me pretty hyped reading that interview. I'm like, "Ooh, they 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 seem into it." Like they were like, I believe the creator's first interview bit was, "Yeah, we just really wanted to fuck things up. I mean, we ended it really well, so why not come back and fuck it up?" Like, having that
This is
attitude going into a X number year later follow up is fun. It tells you they're not gonna like. It almost gives me hope that they're not gonna fuck it up.
yeah.
So I'm excited.
This is gonna be on FX for Hulu, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So that there's no rating, so they can kinda
Well, I
do what
imagine
they
it'll probably crosshair.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't know if that's actually been announced what their plans are for that for
Because,
release.
Why the Last Man was on FX for Hulu, and it was pretty much just unrated, so I think that maybe, like, that'd probably be something the only reason why I say that is not because I want rated R content, it's just that it helps the creative minds kinda tell the story that they want to, kinda like with the first season of Jack Reacher on Amazon, like, they were able to tell that story the way they wanted to, you know? Not putting it on network TV,
True,
but
true.
yeah,
So
I'm
let's
excited for it too. I'm excited for Justified as well, man. Timothy Oliphant's great, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very fun time, especially as just as a one off, and then they're moving back on again. But speaking of stuff that's coming back, we got to talk about
Yes.
Avatar: The Way of Water. So I went and saw that, drove through a snowstorm to see that, which was probably stupid. It really wasn't worth it for me. But obviously, the buzz around it's pretty good. It didn't hit their mark of 170 some million domestic. It only hit about 135, as though that's a bad thing. Like, it's right before the holidays. People are waiting for holiday weekend and or New
Yep.
Year's weekend to go
Yep.
see it in theaters. And the first one only did 75 million, right? Like, and again, it's via inflation and ticket prices increasing stuff. That's not a one-to-one comparison. But because it was 13 years apart, that's a big enough gap for you to say inflation does count.
Sure.
But still, it didn't do this well comparatively. And this one's only going to have better legs because the holidays are literally right around the corner.
Yeah, we get 2 straight weeks of holiday viewing.
Yeah,
So,
and the weekend it's on Sundays, so it's 2 3-day weekends in a row for most people.
yep. Yep, yep, yep. And the theaters are packed during Christmas break because remember, Spider-Man was a year ago. Can you believe this? No Way
That was
Home
a year
was a
ago.
year was a year ago,
And
man.
that
Went to
did
go watch this.
gangbusters over the holiday break.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It did phenomenal. I remember being in the theater having to buy a couple seats around me because remember I was still a little COVID
Oh, yeah,
nervous.
for
It was
sure.
my first trip of the theater, but I will tell you, like, it was a jam-packed house at the Draft House when I went to go watch it both times that weekend. So I can only imagine, there's I'm not a big Avatar guy, but I know that there's, casual moviegoers love this film. There's a reason why it did, it did 2 billion plus. There's a reason why it was just like, just this had this cult following. So I can imagine, like, it did what, like, just a shade under 500 million worldwide last week. I can imagine it doing another 500 million this week and then another 300 or 400 million. So we could hit a billion plus after the first 2.5, 3 weeks,
Yeah,
honestly.
by the end of the year.
Yeah, before the year wraps up, it could break $1 billion worldwide. So I won't be shocked if the numbers stay consistent through all the first 3 weeks of its release.
True. And his films usually do have pretty solid, like, little, not really tails, almost just like plateaus
Yeah.
throughout their run. Because he always has good word of mouth films. But for me, I would say to kind of segue a little bit into the plot and like what I thought of it, it's almost akin to Top Gun Maverick, where it's like Top Gun Maverick, it's really not that great of a story. Like, it's very bare bones. They don't even give the enemy a name, right? Like, it is very on the nose. Like, this is what you're getting. But the visuals, the feel, the atmosphere is just so hyper focused and realized and vision. Like, they execute it perfectly. That's why it did so well. And that's how you felt like, oh man, I'm going to a fucking movie,
Right.
right? In the theaters. And Avatar has that same thing going for it. It's not nothing to write home about plot wise. It's basically, white savior complex, Pocahontas, sci-fi, you know, almost Last of the Mohicans, Last Samurai kind of vibe with the story, but set
Yeah.
in this futuristic sci-fi world, which is pretty well realized. It's got some fun lore and, like technological, like leaps from where you might go. Like, they almost kind of look like fusion drives, like what they did with the Expanse, like with the
True.
decelerating engines towards the planet, right? Like, that was something that was really evocative about the Expanse for me. So it's not the most, original world that you've ever seen in terms of story, but like the atmosphere, like the setting of Pandora, it's just visually just a feast to look at, right? Like, the whole thing is just, I don't want to say like a vibe, like that's like underselling it, but there's a tone, a feeling, an atmosphere of going to the movies. And Cameron's really, really good at that
Yeah.
across a number of different films he's done in different genres. Like, he always brings something cool to the table, whether it's a really interesting story, whether it's, an like almost a what if story, like with the Titanic, right? Like a real life event that did happen and amping it up to 11, or an
True.
entirely original sci-fi world in Avatar, as well as the technological leaps he's brought forth, especially from the 2009 Avatar to this one. That said, I think some of the technological leaps are a little overblown because,
Okay.
like, we've all seen Marvel movies, right? Like, he was talking about how it's going to make Thanos look like, like a child's cartoon or something. I was like, I didn't see anything like that in this movie, and I thought that one, the James Brolin's Thanos was pretty cool. Thought they did a really good job there.
Yeah.
You didn't need to throw that under the bus just because you don't like superhero movies. But yeah, it was a visually very fun movie. Like, they did a lot of the unique environments, like exploring an entire new biosphere on Pandora was really fun. You can definitely tell they're setting up for sequels, right? Like, we get a lot of time with the kids, except for one, which sucks because the entire emotional linchpin of the movie is him, and he gets no development at all. Jake Sully remains a blank board, white man in a blue skin body, like just a plank of a person. I have no emotional connection to him as a character, and Natiri is basically sidelined for like half the movie. So it's like there's really not a lot going for it for me. But it was still a decent enough time at the movies. Just not, hey, I'm gonna drive through a snowstorm in Iowa for it kind of movie. I would for Top Gun. I wouldn't for this movie. If that gives you a sense of perspective on whether or not you should go see the movie in theaters without any spoilers.
Now you should tell folks that, or I'll tell folks for you that, in your channel, on Discord, we like to watch movies once a week, right? We try to do one once a week. And we finally sat down to showcase Top Gun Maverick. And of course, all of the people in the community were very like, man, these two guys are just blowhard. Like they're just literally like, slapping it crazy talking about Maverick, and we're like, no, it's a good fucking movie. Like we're not just like being fanboys of Tom Cruise because he's a pretty badass action star. We'll talk about that in a little bit, how
Yeah.
fucking psychotic he is. But like, just thinking about like, hey, it's a really good movie for someone that was a kid watching that first one, and it's such an 80s timepiece. It's a time capsule in itself, right? It was never a good movie. This was a good movie, good characters, good story. Like it takes something that was there and it makes it 100 times better, right?
Yeah.
And when they watched that movie, at the end of it, they were all like, "Holy shit!" And of course, the run that we keep calling it the run.
The
When,
trench
when
run. Yeah.
the trench run, we just call it the run. But when the run happened, you're like, "It's the run," and they were all like, "Holy shit!" I was on the edge of my seat. Like this was like that was badass. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just, oh, was that was it correct? Like let's talk to
Who
jet
gives a
pilots. Was it
shit?
correct?
Who gives a
Like,
shit?
come on,
Is
guys.
incredible.
Like, it's a movie.
Let this
Like
guy
there,
make a Star Wars movie. I'd lose
yeah,
my shit.
yeah. But
Patty Jenkins can't get Rogue Squadron done. Hey, this guy can do it. Let's fucking go.
it's one of those things where it's like, okay, great. Like I said just a little while ago, not a big Avatar guy. Like I'm going to tell you, James Cameron, that first film, beautiful, right? He knows how to make a masterpiece of a film in terms of like visually, right? He gets that. He gets the nuances of combat. But I think the biggest problem I always have with James Cameron's films is one area blows you away and other areas lack because of it. Titanic was one of those things where the visuals incredible, the score unbelievable, right? All of the cinematography amazing. The acting was very meh for me. The story was okay. It suffered a little bit because of the other things. Terminator 2, great fucking film, except for I will be honest with you, cinematography wise, not that good. When you really watch it now, it's like, oh, doesn't hold up very well at all. But the characters, the story, everything about it, awesome, right? So it's like he focuses one way and he suffers, like the other areas get neglected. And I think that's the problem with Avatar is that if he's doing certain things, obviously it's for him to put a stamp on the blockbuster, right? He's kind of one of those guys that wants to poke at the superhero blockbuster films, which is crappy because he is one of the guys that he's the archetype for blockbuster movies. He's one of those guys, right? For
Yeah.
him to kind of take a swing at those guys is a superhero films is kind of it's comical to me, pun intended. But I think that's the thing. Like when I saw reviews for this one, I'm like, people were like, "Hey, it's a good film. If you were a fan of the first one, you will like this one." I didn't see very many people say like, "Oh, it takes it to the next level."
I
The
actually think
one
it takes
thing
a
I
step back.
and that's fair. It's fair for you to say that. So for me, it's like I'll go watch it. I may go during my holiday break, man, because I have a pass. It's not like there's a
I would
slew
say
of
it's a
movies
great
to
movie
watch.
for that.
And that's the thing with Cameron. He knows how to make a picture that's great for the big screen.
Yeah.
He knows how to do
Like
that.
this is not a
That's what
movie I plan on buying.
no, the Russo brothers, they know how to make something for the big screen. The great thing about those things though, their stuff translates well to the small screen as well, right? Not so much with Cameron's stuff. Titanic, not a good film to watch. True Lies was funny, wasn't a great film, kind of stupid in a lot of ways, but it was a great summer blockbuster type of film to go watch in the theater, right? Go watch it at home. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. With the jet, showing up in the fighter jet to save his daughter, like it just didn't. It doesn't slap the same way,
Well, that's
right?
where like
That's
he
all.
doesn't like, for my taste, short of a few movies of his.
Okay.
The one of the most directors I love rewatching their stuff is like Del Toro, right?
Yes.
Like we brought up Hellboy, but like I could watch Pacific Rim, like
And his Spanish stuff is phenomenal.
yeah,
I
like
love his
yeah,
independent
like
stuff.
and that's just the English speaking stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
things he's done, it just it's just so imaginative. You want to live in that world. It's like
Yep.
Avatar's close. I really like the first movie actually. Like there's that scene I was talking with Chris, one of our friends, different Chris than what's in our chat right now, Gamma Cruchtor, about how that first movie. Remember that scene where you're introduced to Stephen Lang's character, and he's like
Mhm.
here are the rules of Pandora. right? Like everything outside these walls are trying to eat you
Yeah.
speech. That was just like captivating. You're like, oh fuck, right? Like Stephen Lang just killed it in that movie, and he's in this movie too. But there's nothing that reaches that level of high for me in the second movie. There's no emotional connection for me there. Nothing really grabbed me like that. And part of it for me, because I'm going to move into spoilers here, part of it is that they just didn't dive into the cool shit. Like,
Okay.
there's very interesting stuff going on in the story that's just in the background. Like, one of the daughters is essentially a, you know, immaculate conception character. Like, there's a mystery around the parent, but they don't focus on it
I know
at
about this
all.
character.
And
I
it's
will tell
like,
you, I know about
why?
this.
It's
It's
the
kind of
coolest part of the
silly.
fucking movie. Like, if you actually focus on it.
Yeah.
Like, and if you, like, I've read a fan theory that's like, holy shit, if he does that, that'd have been a banger of a movie.
Yep.
But it's not even talked about. Which, in fairness, they do plan on having more movies. So, like, they might get there. But as a standalone film, I'm left wondering, okay, that's it? That's all we got. She connects to the spirit. Maybe she's Gaia. Maybe she's a reincarnation of the literal planet's intelligence. And that's it. We don't ever talk about it again.
But we have to talk about the fact that
Why?
potentially where she comes from, because I do know this part. So this is a spoiler I do know of. So I'm going to say this: like, they should have told you a little bit more about the conception side, like where who she came from, like focused on explaining how that happened, right? Because now you're left to say, okay, so if we're going the immaculate conception route, we're not like, what's this character's importance? Then she disappears for a little while in the film, right? And then
Yeah.
and then doesn't play a role until she needs to be rescued at the end. So you're like,
Well, she does the
okay,
rescuing.
yeah, she does the rescuing. Correct me. Thank you for correcting me. But like the background of like, because in the first film, I will tell you this. That's like you said, because I've over the last few years I've really got into my native roots. My heritage of being, my great grandfather was a Comanche, so I really got into like just a lot of tribalism and stuff like that. Their culture, and I will say a lot of that was kind of encapsulated inside Avatar, right, in the first film, and I liked that. But then it feels, from what I can understand from everybody and I've seen and heard from that have watched this, it's like it's less about that, focusing more on like we're going to continue retread the conflict, right, with the humans.
Yeah.
And it's like, but according to James Cameron, there's a reason why. Okay, but you're
And
basically
that's the thing
saying
is they changed the reason
yeah,
without changing the outcome. So
exactly.
instead of it being unobtainium, now it's this like super brain fluid from these talking whales that stops human aging. It's like you didn't need to do that. Like it just have if unobtainium is that important, just
Which
have
it
him
was
come back for that.
in the first film. They said it was,
It
an
was the
ounce
most
was like
valuable resource in the
25
universe.
$25 million per ounce or something ridiculous like that. So that was the most, yeah, important resource in the
And that
entire
was honestly
universe.
an economically viable number for literally building a colony thousands of light years away or however long it was.
But
Right?
now we've taken it to where we've turned this into south of the border in Mexico, bootleg, like, camel urine to make your skin better. Like, really, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, instead of
So,
just well, it's for the unobtainium again. Like
yeah,
it's like the same. You're retreading the same conflict for a different reason. That doesn't make it an easier pill to swallow. Like I would have rather they just used the same reason. Plus, you add in the whole Stephen Lang comes back as an avatar body, which is in the trailer basically, and he's hunting down Jake Sully. Like throw in the same. This is why humans are here, and they also throw in the Earth is dying. Like, and that's just thrown in there. Edie Falco's character says it like one time, and it's like,
oh yeah, it's
but
it's been 13 years since the first film, but
but
like, yeah,
also like they
Earth's
can't
dying.
breathe
Yeah,
the atmosphere. How the fuck you gonna rebuild Earth on Pandora? You can't.
exactly. Nope.
You literally can't. Unless you're gonna
Because if you,
replace the entire biosphere's air, which would kill all the plant life.
as I say, terraforming will destroy the environment.
Like
So
that again, that doesn't make any sense. You
yeah,
didn't need to do that. You didn't have to. You could have just said we need unobtainium to build new infrastructure to keep Earth alive. That would have
exactly.
worked.
Yep.
It just there's a lot about the movie that doesn't work, but
Yep.
visually it's still one of the most imaginative things I've ever watched.
Yeah, you could basically say that it went from like businesses were coming for entertainium in the first film to profit to where The Earth is dying. The entire, like, the collective leadership of the planet Earth have said, we've stayed away for over a decade. Let them live in peace. But look, we have to save our fucking planet. Tough shit. We're coming as a group. Like, yep, it's planet Earth versus,
And if it was the
versus
planet,
you guys.
there'd be a shitload more humans that showed up,
Yeah.
right? Like, it wouldn't be just some small little outpost group going on a hunting mission for Jake Sully. It'd be a planet's worth of people.
I have a free pass, man. I'll go watch it during the holiday break because it is worth a big screen viewing. But like I said, I'm not gonna like this isn't like go destination cinema for me.
No, like for me, and again, it comes back to the trailer. Like it just, I don't know. Maybe it's the original story wasn't that emotionally impactful for me, but
Okay.
like I never really even watched the first Top Gun. But when I saw that trailer, my jaw was on the floor. Right? Like it was just, holy shit, this looks incredible. And this movie just did not grab me in that way. To compare it to another 2022 film, which is, sorry everyone, that's why we keep referencing that movie, because they came out in the same year. And they're both sequels, and it's been 13 years since the first one, so it just, it didn't hook me. It wasn't bad, right? Like I've seen worse movies this year for sure, far worse. I went and saw Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. Like
And
it's,
Thor Ragnarok.
and we saw Thor Ragnarok. I would say if I had to rank them, move my favorite movies of the year, I'd go 1A, 1B, Top Gun Maverick, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Then
I
I'm
like that.
going maybe The Batman,
Okay.
Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and then like Avatar-ish.
Okay. Okay.
Avatar's in that decent ways down from Top Gun and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
And that feels right to me.
Hmm.
So where do we want to go next? You want to go keep movies and go superheroes since we were talking about them a little bit with James Cameron?
I think it's a very poignant thing because it's a big source of like content for us too. So I say let's talk about James Gunn and the new DCU.
Yeah, the DCEU shakeup with their new head of studios. I can't remember the one guy's name. I'm just going to say James Gunn because he's the one I know.
Peter something and something.
Yeah, it's Peter something. Peter with an S. So James and Peter, let's say, are starting up a new DCEU universe, which means some heads have to roll, projects have to get the axe
Mhm.
for very different reasons than what Warner Brothers is doing with HBO. This is a purely creative decision, I think. Obviously, there's some financials to consider as well with completed projects and such.
Yeah.
But, like what to do with Superman, what to do with Black Adam, what do you do with Wonder Woman? Like where's Batman at and all these things, right? Like what do you do with the Flash? That's basically a done movie. Are you going to kill Michael Keaton's second attempt at coming back as Batman? And the third they already killed, which was going to be a Batman Beyond movie with old man Michael Keaton. Fucking kidding me? That didn't even get into the production phase. Are you shitting me? That project screams fucking gold. Didn't happen. Oh, I can't believe that one didn't happen. Anyway, they're making a new DCEU. So the big news is not a month after they said Henry Cavill's back as Superman because of the cutscene or end of movie scene in Black Adam. Cavill's out. So he's not going to be Superman anymore. We are going to be moving into a young Superman, which is a completely understandable creative decision. You're wanting to build a linchpin and you wanting to use Superman as a linchpin of a new universe. Cavill's awesome. I hope he comes back in some fashion in this universe, either as a different Superman or a different character altogether. Maybe he comes back as Ultraman in a villain role or something. But if you're going to do a 10 to 15 year run with a new Superman, you can't have a guy that's 39 be your lead.
No.
Even if he loves the character and he's the perfect embodiment of prime Superman, you can't start a universe with him. It'd be like, I love Stephen Amell, but it'd be like starting a young Green Arrow show with him now. That wouldn't work.
No.
Right? He's too old, and that's not a bad thing. It's just a reality of where they want to go creatively. Same with Black Adam, and that one's more because it didn't perform well. Bet your butt if it had performed well, we'd be having a different conversation.
Yeah.
But it didn't, so it made the decision easy. Hey, we're done with Black Adam. Sorry, Rock. Maybe we'll find a different role for you. Maybe you come back as, ex-villain or superhero or something down the line if you want to. But we're moving on. Wonder Woman 3 didn't get through script revisions. Project didn't get greenlit. We're moving on from Wonder Woman. And maybe Gal will come back as Wonder Woman. I don't know. I don't think so. Especially if
She's
you're going
also she's also near 40. She's pushing 40 as well.
that, and
So
like if Cavill's not getting the green light,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't think she is.
yeah,
Like Cavill is one of the biggest names right now. Witcher was extremely successful. You know, he's coming off a villain performance opposite Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. He's been Superman, right? Like, even though those two movies were not very good, he was pretty solid.
yeah.
Like, and he was somebody fans were rallying behind to get more opportunities as the character, and he didn't get the nod. So I can't imagine Gal's gonna with Wonder Woman. Those rumors about Momoa moving into Lobo's role kind of look legit now, because they were just weird. Like, but isn't he Aquaman? Rumors like a month or two ago, with all this was going on with Gunn being announced, and now I'm wondering, yeah, want to bet he was probably call number one in terms of, hey, you want to get a recast and let's just move you to this new DCEU, because it's the perfect fit. Jason Momoa as Lobo, the main man.
Well, and the way I see this working from James Gunn's standpoint is Lobo can start up in the new DC universe at the same time as the new Batman, the new Wonder Woman, the new Superman, right? But he could be on HBO Max
Yeah.
because Momoa has star power, but he likes to do TV shows as well. So have him do Lobo in the new DCEU, but on Netflix to replace your Peacemakers, your Green Lantern Corps, all that stuff that you had in the pipe that you were working on, right? That you were kind of quasi trying to tie in together. You could tie this into the EU where he knows the new Superman, or he like talks about how he hates Kryptonians because they're arrogant pricks or something like that. You could tie in Lobo to and you have your space, like your outer space EU already rolling, rather than how Marvel they waited 4 or 5 years, 6 years before they opened it up with Guardians. So
Yeah, 6 years, 08 to 14.
yep. So, but I mean,
Yeah.
Momoa is Lobo. We both know that he is Lobo. He is a Lobo with makeup. He's pushing 42, or he's in his early 40s. But with all that makeup, the CGI, he can go play the character for another 10, 15 years with no problem.
Well, yeah, that, and it's not like Lobo does a lot of wire work. I can't
Yeah.
imagine him doing wire work, right? Like that kind of choreography
No.
for Lobo.
No, it's more hand-to-hand type melee type stuff with Lobo. So
Yeah, that and just like brute strength, right?
brute strength and guns. That's really it.
Like that's something that would be more easy to do long term
Yeah.
than other types of stunt work. And that's not to say it's impossible. It's just, and he's got the type, like a body type that he's just like, yeah, he's gonna be able to go for a while if he stays healthy.
Yeah.
And doesn't like fuck up his back, a la like a Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, other bits of news, like, but it's kind of weird because we're in this nebulous period where, like Blue Beetle's still happening. And is that going to be a standalone, not connected to the DCEU? Was it just too far along to cancel it? Because like I don't see Gunn creatively wanting to be I'm going to cancel finished projects, like Zaslav did with Batgirl. Like if that had been a Gunn decision, I don't know if it would have happened. Just as how I see things from the outside.
Well, from what I understand, there was a recent test screening of Blue Beetle, and apparently it came out with positive reviews. They mention the extended universe, but they don't show anyone.
Yeah, and same with Shazam. Shazam did the same thing where they mention the universe. Aquaman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman exist. You don't see them. So if they want to continue a Shazam universe and maybe just recast Levi because maybe he doesn't want to keep doing it for however long this project's going to go. That's something you could keep the same kid if he wants to be the character going forward. But maybe he'll have aged out of being young Billy Batson.
I mean, yeah, he's going to be hitting his early 20s here very soon.
At the same time, though, I've had an idea of a Billy Batson story that's like, what if he's not a kid? Like, what happens when Billy Batson's not a kid? Like when he says Shazam, does he just not change?
We got that with Black Adam.
Yeah, but like in terms of Billy Batson, like he changes because it's his wish fulfillment of this is what I think a superhero should look like.
Sure.
But instead of he just stays the same, you know. And he doesn't like. Does he get past needing to even say the word? Right? Like that'd be an interesting angle for his character, and you wouldn't have to retread the same ground. Oh, he's a kid learning how to, you know, like accept responsibility and you know all those things that come with that character. Possibility,
No.
because you don't have to recast him if you want to keep him in his story up to this point. But we'll see what happens because Fear of the Gods looks wild.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you know, let's say ramifications that will have for the wider DC universe if they continue that part of the universe.
You also think that they may be able to edit that stuff out.
Yeah, I don't know.
They
Because the other
may
part
be
is with
able to,
Wonder Woman, I mean, that was the big mistake of the first Wonder Woman was killing all the gods.
yeah.
Like that was to me like the oh man, you guys just chopped off so much cool Wonder Woman lore by
Yep.
killing the gods. So I'm like, hey, that was stupid. Can't believe you did that. And now they get a reboot of Wonder Woman, and maybe we'll get a closer to a maybe the Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman run,
Oh,
which was a phenomenal comic book run.
fantastic run,
Like
man. He was
that moment where she takes the
uh,
gauntlets off, and like I think what god was it she was fighting? It was like you would take off your best protection against me, and she's like, they're not to protect me, they're to protect you, and she
Yep.
like basically goes full Thor before Ragnarok. You know, this would have been what was that 2014, 2015?
2020, I think 2013.
It was
I want
the
to say 13.
end of the first run of the New 52. So I would have been
Yeah.
college. So it would have been 09, 010 ish. Yeah, around that time.
Okay.
Phenomenal comic book run. Like her becoming the god of war, right? Like taking over for Ares. Ares was her mentor. That was some dope shit. I would love to see that with a different Wonder Woman. You know, like that'd be a really cool thing to see because it didn't really connect to the wider DC universe.
No.
Other than references to, you know, various parts of the world she was visiting. But man, I'd love to see what they do with the DC universe because there's so much cool stuff that has yet to be properly mined out of the DC universe as a comic book property that we've never really seen that well realized on the live action screen.
Yeah. Well, you're right because a modern adaptation of General Zod, you know, in the later, like the 2010s version of Zod in the Superman action comics, great storytelling about him. Great retelling of
Imagine
General
if they
Zod.
got to
and his
do
life.
that with if they had gotten to do that with Michael Shannon back then.
Yeah, God, man,
Oh man,
he's such a great actor, and like I was okay with the approach, but they kind of went too far with
they went too far
the
sci-fi.
too far sci-fi and a little closer to Terrence Stamp than I thought they were going to. You know, I thought not Terrence Stamp. I forget his name now.
Oh fuck,
The
what
actor.
is his name?
Terrence Stamp.
No, that
No, it
was
is.
Zod. He was Zod.
It's Terrence Stamp. Okay, yeah, I am
He
right.
comes back
Terrence
as
Stamp.
Jor-El in Smallville.
Yeah, but Terrence Stamp's version of Zod, they were kind of pushing that and a little sci-fi, you know, spacey-ish with him. I was like, okay, can we go with the 2010s Zod where he's just like an egomaniac that's all about like just like almost like a Hitler type of mentality. Like he wants to destroy other races, you know, other, you know, societies around the entire universe because he's pissed off at what happened to, you know, to Krypton. So I would have loved that. We still have yet to get a really good Brainiac story, you know, and I think James Gunn can do that. And it doesn't have to be slapsticky Brainiac.
I mean,
Like,
the guy
you
did
know,
Starro.
yeah.
Like the guy got Starro right
And he made it
in a
fun.
comedy. So I'm like,
Remember, he also got Polka Dot Man in there and made him likable. You know, the Rat Catcher. Like, yeah, that Suicide Squad movie. I think people need to really go back and watch it because he makes the characters likable. That's the main thing. Whether they're villain, whether they toe the line, no matter what, like he makes them likable. And he obviously
he
had to
fixed Rick
shoehorn.
Flag.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
holy shit, he made that character awesome.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
that emotional beat when he dies. Spoiler,
Oh man.
dude, that fucking hit.
Yeah.
Like, that hurt.
Yeah.
Like James Gunn can do some really really cool stuff with story. That's why I'm very excited about him getting the reins of the proper wide lens DC universe. 'Cause, man, there's some dope shit. Like imagine getting a legit League of Shadows, not hey, we're gonna say she's Talia last part of the movie, right? Like an actual like League of Shadows story. You know, like we'll get to something with Doctor Fate, like a real Doctor Fate. He was decent in Black Adam. That wasn't really Doctor Fate, right? that was Pierce Brosnan didn't want to be in the helmet all the time, Dr. Fate. Like,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
like he wanted to take it off because he's Pierce fucking Brosnan.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was a lot of that Peter Parker taking the mask off with Pierce, and it's like, why? Because he's so Dr. Fate is a cool fucking character, and it's like, gotta take the like. There was that one scene where they're in the chamber, and he takes off the helmet with the suit on, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? Like,
Yeah, like that's
what are
not
we
how the
doing?
character works. Like if he takes the
That's
helmet off, he's
coming
not
off.
Dr. Fate anymore.
He's
Like
yeah, exactly.
he literally says he gets possessed. Like the Fate is the helmet.
Yep.
Like you can't. They're different characters. It's
Oh man.
like that Black
But
Adam movie was so close to like they got a good version of Carter Hall and then they did fuck all with him.
But you know what? The reason why I have faith, like, I'm not complaining about the whole process. I thought it was a little awkward about the communication between James Gunn's
Yeah,
camp,
I think it was more
DC, and
premature
Cavill.
on Cavill coming back part,
Yep.
and it was weird timing because that was clearly something The Rock wanted. The movie bombed. The announcement was already in the works that Cavill was back, and then Gunn takes over and says, "No, we're going a different direction. Sorry." Weird timing. Different people making decisions, not talking to each other in the run up to their decisions.
But here's the thing: the one thing I'm taking away from this, you and I have been very critical about the Discovery slash Warner Brothers merger acquisition, whatever we're going to call it, right? For months now, we've spent time on this show talking about what they're doing, what they've done to content on HBO Max, what they've talked about cutting films to save money and get tax breaks. Their reality network, how much are they really focused on like original and cinematic content because they're a reality network that's used to cheaper budgets. We talked about we've broken all the layers down. At the end of it all, Warner Brothers and Discovery sat down and realized if we're gonna make money off of DC, we have to put it in the right fucking hands with someone that gets it, right? Like we talked about Star Wars and how Kathleen Kennedy has not shit the bed, but has not been good leadership. But then, Filoni and Favreau have really come in and helped right that ship, right? And showed people this is how you're supposed to tell a story with Star Wars. And we got Andor out of it, one of the best
Well,
shows
they're
this
not
year.
involved in Andor, but Andor probably only came about because The Mandalorian was successful.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean is that whole concept of we can tell an original Star Wars story without being focused on certain ways, characters and mythos, and having certain like exposition constantly being shoved down our throat. Right? We can tell a different story. We can use practical effects. There's so many things that Filoni and Favreau brought to the table with Mandalorian, right? And that we got Andor out of all of that. If Filoni and Favreau hadn't come along and showed Kathleen Kennedy and fans hey, this is what you want. We're fans too. We get it. Here it is. Oh shit, that's what I've always wanted, right? We wouldn't have gotten Andor. And I think at this point we would have gotten James Gunn because whatever happened with Disney and James Gunn regarding Guardians 3, all that, I think James Gunn really liked the potential of storytelling within the DC characters because doing the Suicide Squad, he immediately found I like this Peacemaker character. I can do something with this. And he made a show right immediately after they wrapped the film, and it was one of the best shows this year,
I can't believe that
Like
was this year too. Like,
January, man.
yeah, our list is gonna be wild because like for me the year is broken into this weird part where like February and March feel like a different lifetime ago because of the
Sure, I
surgery
know.
and everything. But like, man, Peacemaker was legitimately phenomenal television.
Yeah.
That was fucking great. So like, I think the universe is in good hands. It's gonna be awkward getting there because
Yeah.
obviously these projects are years away, right? You still got finished work that have yet to come, like Aquaman 2, right? Like The Flash, this Blue Beetle movie. And what will carry over and what will not is going to be weird. I actually don't know if any of it will, besides maybe Blue Beetle.
Maybe Peacemaker.
Maybe. Because that was a weird self contained universe, signs, Amanda Waller. So it'll be weird. But weird is James Gunn's alley.
Yeah.
So I have faith. We'll see what happens. I'm sure we're going to start with a Superman movie. I think you kind of have to, right? Like, take a break from DC. Maybe wait on it a little bit. I still think you could have made What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way work so goddamn well with Henry Cavill. It would have been the perfect way to say, we're done with the Snyderverse. And maybe it will be with a younger Superman. I don't know. To me, it would have worked better with an older Superman.
So what are we doing? Are we doing just freshly off of the bus from Smallville, or are we gonna do Smallville? Like that's the big thing I worry about. Maybe they saw what Marvel and Disney did with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, where we don't have to tell the origin story again. We
I
can
think
just
you do kind of what they
what's
did with it was a recent animated feature called Superman Man of Tomorrow, I think,
okay. Okay, yeah,
where he
yep,
was already Superman.
yep.
Just wasn't like as super publicly facing, like he was kind of just like there and running away, not doing interviews, not getting photos taken. Kind of like season 10 Smallville where he was the blur
Mhm.
kind of deal where he's like an urban legend, but everyone kind of knows he's out there. Uh but the first villain was Parasite. Lobo was actually in that movie too. Um so was Martian Manhunter. And it just kind of comes down to if it's going to be a standalone project, which I think it should, you want to set up, and maybe it's just Lex, because Man of Steel, other than Batman versus Superman, they didn't do anything with Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a Lex Luthor story. Maybe it's a Cadmus story where we're all of a sudden in this same movie introduced to Superboy or something, right? Like, I'm curious where they're going to go. Because he's got a lot of fun villains that you could do something unique with. Lex hasn't been done that well in a long time as like the primary villain. Um, 'Cause, like, yeah, the Batman versus Superman was so weird because Batman was also the villain.
Yeah.
Like it, and then you had Doomsday in there.
Like Doomsday was just like shoved in the back end just so we can get Wonder Woman in there
So
too. So
weird. So weird.
yeah.
You could start setting up the seeds for Apocalypse. Like
Yeah.
Young Justice did this really well, where I didn't even realize it, but Tim Curry is voicing Glorious Gordon Godfrey throughout the entire first couple seasons before his stroke. Um, and I forgot. Oh yeah, that's one of Darkseid's heralds, and
Yep.
he's just an anchor on a TV show, like constantly, like subtly fomenting dissent against the Justice League, or in this case, it would be just Superman. And you like throw in little bits that are going to lead to eventually getting to Darkseid and like Granny Goodness and Desaad and Godfrey and the Furies and Calabac and get into the new gods shit with like Orion and stuff like that. So, I'm wondering where they go and who they cast, which is going to tell us more than anything.
Well, that's the start. Like where like at
Like, and,
what
and
point
how young are we talking
how
Superman?
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like how young the actor they cast is going to tell you where they're going to focus on this because if it's someone in their mid 20s, they're obviously going to do a Superman that's been around for a little bit, like a year or two, couple years, right? Where if it's someone in their early 20s, like remember, I think what people forget, Tom Holland was cast, he was 20 years old. They started filming, he had just turned 20. He's 26 now because he's had this role for six and change now, almost 7 years. So he's been growing up into the role, but you can see Tom Holland still playing Peter Parker for another 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So casting someone in their early 20s is the optimal thing. But this is different because Tom Holland, Peter Parker,
Was in high
smaller
school.
frame. Well, no, but just saying like the character itself is designed to be smaller for, skinnier. Superman's a big beefy guy, so if you're going to cast really young, it's got to be a big guy, a young guy that's big,
But
like
Welling
just
was huge at 14. He's big. He's a big dude at 14.
yeah,
And he
he's a
was
big
cast at
dude.
14, the first thing he'd ever did acting wise, which is crazy to me. That would almost never happen today.
Have you listened to their podcast, by the way, with Michael
I've
Rosenbaum?
watched like 4 or 5 episodes. It's a good
Good stuff.
podcast.
Good podcast. Rosenbaum's one of the better podcasters out there, guys. So
Yeah, he's
when he
fantastic.
when he has guests on that and he interviews from all types of industry, just amazing interviewer. He asks great questions. But it really depends on how young they go with the act. And I will agree with you on this. The first thing that they have to do is announce who their Superman is, and then pick a date when they're going to release that film. Then we go from there. Then once that's announced, then you can start filming your TV shows. Like you could have Momoa play Lobo, and Lobo is not a big screen character, man. I'll be honest with you. He needs to be on
I
HBO
think
Max.
you set it up almost like the Mandalorian, where he's just hunting bounties. Like
Yeah,
that's it. There's no
another one.
grand villain where he's trying to save the universe or anything. He's just trying to beat bounties. Maybe he's got to like defeat a mob boss or something, right? Like an
Sure.
intergalactic mob boss, and that's the story of season 1. But like, that's all it's got to be.
Another character that they have to put on Max. Remember, because it's no longer going to be HBO Max. It's just
Oh,
going to be Max
imagine they
now.
run in, not Adam Strange in like a Lobo.
I was gonna say Adam Strange could be a great side character in Lobo, and he's a really great explorer in space. Other character to affect your timeline, Booster Gold.
Yes. Oh my god. Especially because have him be the only character that remembers the Snyderverse.
Yeah,
Like you like, and that's where they could do something weird with the Flash. I don't know what they did with their ending, but imagine they do hard cut on the Flash ending. The universe is rebooted. Like
yeah.
they might just say fuck it, let's do that. Like and have it be a totally different Flash. Like Gunn is crazy enough to do that. So like I don't know. Maybe they do with Flashpoint and like they actually do that part. They've really not said they're gonna hew that closely to the Flashpoint story, but maybe they do.
But I think a Booster Gold would be another character, or if you want to get the detective side of your universe on Earth, get a Plastic Man story. You
Or
know,
the
like you,
Question.
the questions, your
Oh, the
mystery,
Question
like
is such a perfect James Gunn character.
yeah,
Remember Justice League the cartoon, Jeffrey Combs
yeah,
voicing the Question? That
yeah,
guy's a James Gunn character if I've ever
yeah,
seen one.
yep, yep.
Oh, that's got me thinking things, man.
So I mean, like, we both know that James likes taking characters that aren't in the forefront of your property and making them likable or hateable, right? Because he did that with Suicide Squad. He obviously did that with Guardians. Remember when we talked about this a couple podcasts ago, where I said years ago when they announced they were going to do a film called The Guardians of the Galaxy, I said, "You guys are going to fucking love this series. It's wacky little weird characters in space." Everyone loved it. But James Gunn did what I didn't think he was. I didn't know he was going to do, which was make me love characters, like make me love Rocket Raccoon. You know, I make me love Drax and Groot, and like, I knew these characters. I was like, okay, I know what they are. It's a comic I've read. Sure, it's gonna be fun. But I was like, man, I find myself pulled into it. Same thing with Suicide Squad. I was like, fuck, John Cena's a good character, man. This Peacemaker guy. And then right afterwards, there's a Peacemaker show coming out. I'm like, okay, but this is going to be awkward because John Cena's not a seasoned actor, he's a wrestler, but he fucking nailed that show and the supporting cast and everything about Peacemaker. So James Gunn gets it. Now, like I said, there's been some weird approaches to things, but I have the utmost confidence that he and Peter or whatever his name is,
I can't
I
remember.
forget,
Yeah,
Sedaris
that's
or
gonna be his entire
Saffron.
career is just
Peter's
yeah.
working with James
I'm
Gunn.
the guy that is working with James Gunn.
James
Like,
Gunn. I mean, that's really it, man. But at some point he's gonna have to direct stuff that James doesn't want to be a part
well, I
of,
don't think he's gonna
or
direct. He's behind the scenes producer guy.
you don't think James is gonna step into the director's chair for
No, no, no.
anything at
Like I
all?
know he's James will, but like the other
Okay,
guy has only been a
yeah.
producer.
Oh, he's a producer. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
like
He's
that's
the
what
guy
he brings
bringing.
to the table.
Yeah, he's bringing in the talent and the money. I get that, but um, I have a lot of confidence in what James Gunn because he gets it. Just like I said, with like Filoni and Favreau get Star Wars, he gets the comic book hero story. He gets it. So, but man, you got to jump into some TV shows if you're going to create a universe even
That's what
before
kind of
Superman
makes me
comes
sad though,
out.
because that means Superman and Lois is gonna have to go. And Superman and Lois
Yeah,
is awesome Superman stuff. Like
yeah,
that crew, they get Superman, dude. Like
yeah,
super they that character works so well as a dad that like I can't believe never was really done consistently before like the Super Son era like 5 years ago.
yeah.
Like Super Dad is the best, maybe the best version of the character. And I was kind of hoping we'd get that with Cavill, but hopefully they get to wrap up Superman and Lois really, really well because I loved what they were doing in seasons 1 and 2, and I hope season 3 because I think they've announced 3. They recast one of the kids in 3,
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that that continues on its excellent run because man,
Well,
what a
they
great
met.
way to wrap up that kind of odd
Yeah.
Arrowverse world because they're done with the Flash now. That's finishing up this year.
Yep.
Stargirl, Supergirl, Arrow, Legends. It's pretty much all done.
Yeah.
But man, it gave us some really fun highs. But Superman and Lois is probably the most consistently great show of that entire run,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though
I
it's
will
only
agree with
loosely
that.
connected.
I will agree with that. I think probably the earliest we see is a new Superman film is 2025 at the earliest.
I agree. That
So
feels right because those movies would
yeah,
take a while to now, obviously you got to get through pre-production, so you got to get a script, you got to get a cast, you got to
yeah.
shoot the thing, you got to
You're gonna
edit it,
shoot in
you
20.
got to
You're gonna
market
shoot in
it,
24. Yep. Yep.
and because whoever you want to cast right now is probably already working on something, so that's got to wait.
Yep.
So We'll see who
Well,
they
you
go for.
remember it is Superman is probably we both agree that Superman's probably going to be your first film in this new universe. Whoever it is has got to beef up as well. They've whoever it is, they have to cast them and then let them, train to get in shape for it. Filming, they're not going to film in 2023. They don't even have their slate of films outlined. That's going to be their goal next year. So I think 2025 at the early, and that's not being conservative. That's being like, hey, that's like they're
You hit the
ready.
ground
They're
running. Let's go.
hit the ground running. That's 2025. 2026 is a little more realistic conservative approach is where I can see things. But I don't think Warner Brothers and Discovery want to wait 4 years. I think that they're like, okay, James, we made this announcement. You've cleared the air with The Rock. You've cleared the air with Cavill. We've cleared the air with Patty Jenkins. Now you and Pete go out there, build your universe from now through the end of next year. Get your schedule because in 2024 we want to announce when the first film's coming out.
Yeah, we
Hey,
want to like
2025.
wow at Comic-Con. We want to
Yep,
bring the
yep,
big guns. And
yep.
that brings
So
me to
by
a question with Superman.
go ahead.
And it's kind of a larger theme question in terms of these legacy characters. Obviously, with Man of Steel, we got a different Man of Steel theme, right? Like, he got a
Sure.
different score than the OG Christopher Reeves one. Like, even Superman Returns brought in the Reeves music. If you're trying to harken back to, like, when Superman was the ideal, do you think they're going to bring that back as part of the main score? The OG John Williams Superman theme? Because it's a
I
great
think.
theme,
Mhm.
but I don't know if it fits. I would love it though. Like if you were able to make a Silver Age Superman story and you use like his first appearance is the OG Superman theme, I'd tear up. I'm tearing up thinking about it.
No,
But does that work for the wider audience?
it's a good question. Everyone that knows Superman as an adult knows the original Donner theme, right? The Christopher Reeves Superman theme, right?
Yeah, it's a pop culture at this point. It's kind
Yeah,
of like the
yeah,
Indiana Jones theme.
yeah, exactly.
A lot of
But
Williams stuff is.
I think because I'm trying to think back, we've never seen an animated production. Have they used that theme at all? I don't recall
Don't think so.
an
They did in
animation film.
the Justice League.
Okay.
The scene where he fucking fights the League, they use it there. Like, why? Danny Elfman. I'm sorry. What were you
Well,
thinking?
no, I mean animated.
Animated?
I don't
Yeesh.
remember. I don't remember. I don't remember any animated
I
film
don't
I
think
ever
they
saw that.
did.
Okay. So it's something that how I liken it to is J.J. Abrams' Kelvin verse of Star Trek. You could take the old theme and rescore it in a different way, make it
Mhm.
bigger and grander, which is what I love because
You think
the
Michael Giacchino is gonna come in and do Superman?
oh
That'd
my
actually be
god,
pretty fun
that would be
because
fun.
he's got a really good use of horns in a lot of his scores, and that's
Yeah.
Superman's calling card
Yep.
is like the brass horns.
Because
Like
you think about it, because you think about Abrams Star Trek, it has its own theme
yeah, and
at
the
the
Star
front
Trek
end.
theme in those three movies, it's a damn
Great.
good theme.
Yeah, it's got that heavy pace that
And it's very
walks up
different from the OG,
and then
but they
it's
weave it in
boom.
at the
Yep, and
end with the
then
theremin and stuff that kick in. Like
yep, yep, yep.
it's a fun mix. Oh man, I didn't even think about Giacchino until I said it. Like, ooh,
Yeah. There's a way you
that
could
fits.
style it. There's a way you could style it where you can create your own new theme, but weave it in. And I think you're right. I think at some point in that first film, you have to bring it out just to show, like, hey, we're going to do
Like the
Superman.
first time you see the golden S flying through saving the day. Like you
Exactly.
kind of need that. Just as
Exactly.
like a reset of like, hey, that Snyderverse stuff, killing Zod, and all that, done. Nope. This is
It's not going to
new
be
Superman.
it won't be the full track. It'll probably be just the dun 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 dun. Like you do
And then
that
kick into
portion
the
of it,
rest of the score.
kick into to the new score, but just hitting that piece has people go, okay, they get it. They get Superman because we got that in at the back end of Black Adam, and I guarantee you that there was a lot of pushing for that, like from from Dwayne Johnson, from Cavill, to make sure it was done that way, just like it was with Snyder in the Snyder cut, right? Because in the original cut, it wasn't there, right? So
Yeah.
I just, it'll be interesting to see where they go with. For me, it's all about like, are they going with the young guy, like a fresh Superman, or someone that's been out there for a little while? That's like
Or
you said.
similar thing with the new 52. Do you even start with Lois Lane? Do you go Superman Wonder Woman? That was actually a decently fun comic book.
Yeah.
Like when he punches Apollo through a mountain. That was actually like, damn. I didn't even think about how that would work. But yeah, fighting the sun god. and you're fighting Superman, you fucked. Like,
You
but
know, I think we're okay with that because I think with people like especially in this modern society of like just with content, people are very focused on evolving characters and not relying on traditional women tropes in media, like in
mhm.
productions, right? And Lois Lane's probably one of those that would probably frustrate a modern society, honestly.
Ooh, I didn't even think about this.
Always getting in trouble, whereas he like the first love interest he has is a physical and power match to him in Wonder Woman. That makes sense, like to
Well,
do a
that's what
modern
they
version of.
did with the New 52 inspired animated universe,
Yep.
which was its own 15 movie saga in itself.
And it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, I actually
It
really
was
liked that. I mean, there were some weird stylistic choices. Wasn't a huge fan of Jason O'Mara's Batman. It grew on me, but I mean,
I
any
liked how they I liked how they presented Shazam, the Captain Marvel. I like
right
that
like
version of the
having
52
it be
version.
voiced by Sean Astin was pretty good,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know. And it just anyone that's stepping into the role of Kevin Conroy. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what you're stepping into. And to his credit, O'Mara like brought it every time. You know, he didn't phone it in, but he just wasn't Kevin Conroy. But yeah, I think that about wraps up where we're at on DC. Sorry to talk in circles here. But oh, speaking of Conroy, did you see it Game Awards trailer that Kevin Conroy
Yes.
reveal? I
Oh, man.
I wasn't entirely sold on a Suicide Squad game, but it's Rocksteady, so like, all right, you have my attention. Rocksteady gets DC. They've done DC games. They got Kevin Conroy to come back one last time as the Batman. Oh man, could you imagine a better way to go out as you're as a voice actor as one of if this game is anywhere near as good as the trilogy, the Arkham trilogy? Damn, what a fantastic final performance that is. And they didn't say a fucking word.
No, they were very quiet about this, about him taking part in this project. So,
Yeah, not
uh,
until the Game Awards to the trailer leaked. That was the fucking
yeah.
holy shit moment for me of
And
the
I
Game
know he's
Awards.
he's he's been sick, quietly sick for the last couple of years. So it's awesome that they were able to get this in, kind of like immortalize him. He's gonna be immortalized no matter what because we have just thousands, hundreds of hours of him as Batman. But just this was his final masterpiece, which I'm hoping it's a good game, man. Like I really am. I really am. Maybe it
There
has that Deadpool, like that
again, I
Deadpool on
think it feel
Xbox
like
feel.
watching it is like, oh, it feels like they married this James Gunn Suicide Squad with the Arkham games.
Exactly.
Cool. I'm
Exactly.
fucking in.
Yeah.
As long
Yeah.
as the combat's good, and Rocksteady does not do bad combat. As long as
Yeah.
the combat's good, I'm in. Because it looks like it's going to be a fun DC world. So,
Yeah.
all right, that's enough DC talk. We've been recording for about an hour 15, which is our general average.
Yeah. About. Yeah.
One last note. We talked about Tom Cruise being insane. I did not think I'd be this hyped for Mission Impossible 7.
Dead Reckoning.
Dead
Reckoning.
Reckoning Part 1. I was pretty hyped for it because 6 was fantastic. Fallout was probably my movie of that year. And Ghost Recon,
Ghost Protocol.
no, Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation.
5. 5 was just as good.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, there's no way they can follow up and have it be that good, right? Like, no, nobody. He's not getting any younger, right? Like, they're gonna take a few years break. No way they're gonna follow it up. Ah, fuck, they're totally gonna. Like Tom Cruise jumping that fucking motorcycle. Are you kidding me?
Jumping off of a massive cliff and parachuting off.
Like, I'm trying to
Base.
remember.
He's a 60-year-old man base jumping, dude. Like,
Like, they faked that kind of shot in. It was a James Bond with Pierce Brosnan. Was that
yep.
Goldeneye?
I think it was Goldeneye.
They kind of fake it, right? Like they do actually drive it off stunt drive, but then they CGI the
No,
plane in and all that.
no. But that was a stunt
Yeah, it
double
was a
that
stunt,
did that.
right? Like it was a stunt crew doing
Yeah.
it. Like it's just they shot it for the movie. That's fucking Tom Cruise on that motorcycle. The fuck? Can't believe he's doing that shit. He was 58, 59 when he recorded it, and he just broke his fucking ankle doing the last movie on a building, like jumping onto a building, snap it. Well, he was probably jumping onto a facade to make it look like he was jumping onto a building, but still, snapped his ankle. He's not getting any younger, and he's still doing crazy shit like jumping out of airplanes to say thanks for going to the movies. Like, good lord.
What gets me about that clip, man, is that they show you, they break down how they were going to do this, and had this film been shot, this scene been shot like a year or two before, the technology wasn't there, the drone technology wasn't there, but now that they had it to do the shot, and they show you like the drone
Yeah, that
shots, all of
flyover
these,
for the prep shot was like,
the
damn,
yeah,
that
right.
is sweet.
So they're like they basically, this video is like a 10-minute video, 9-10 minute video of him doing this jump, prepping for the jump, everything, right? They said he jumped, like he did how many skydiving attempts? 500, no, more than that, right?
Well,
500,
because he was
600
also doing a
skydiving.
bunch for Fallout too.
Yeah. He did like hundreds of skydiving attempts for training, like within like a, I don't know, like a 2-month period. Ridiculous. Like just ridiculous. Then there's this jump where he rides a motorcycle off of a cliff and then just base jumps off of the motorcycle, and he has to, the thing is, there's no wire work, there's not a chopper holding him up, right? He's doing it himself. But like hearing him talk about this, the physics of like, as soon as I jump off, like as soon as I go off on the bike, I have to get into this wing position to get my momentum to move upward, and then I fire my parachute. He gets it on the first take, man. That's the crazy thing. But then he does it 5 more times after that.
Yeah.
Same day. Same day. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit. This
It's,
guy.
and honestly, I don't know if it's what's more impressive, that or that Halo jump. Because the
Now, what's
Halo
more,
jump was it was a tandem jump. Because they
yeah,
had the camera on the second guy that you don't see
yep.
filming the whole thing, which is just wild to me. Like that Christopher McQuarrie was like directing a movie where that was a shot that was in his head, and then they did it. Like, damn, these movies are
And you can see,
just
and you can see
so.
him. You can see the director crying. He breaks into tears after that first jump. Like it's like, we want to make sure we get it. First attempt, nailed it perfectly. We got our shot, because you could hear the guys in the background go, "Fuck, we got it!" And like that means they got the shot that they needed, right? And he just breaks down with the assistant director and starts crying, because it's like he's thinking, what happens if Tom Cruise dies on this stunt? It's like, Tom Cruise doesn't care if Tom Cruise dies on this
He wants
stunt,
to get,
because
as long as you got that shit on
as
film.
long as it got, exactly, as long as nobody's bringing COVID to the set,
Yeah,
that's
and
a big
fucking
thing for him,
around.
and fucking
Don't do that.
around. But then as long as you get the shot, that's all Tom Cruise cared about in
In
that. And
fairness, the guy's got flaws. I'm not like trying to, blow smoke
yes,
up his ass.
no, I mean, one day we have to
And
sit
I
down and
definitely have
talk
issues
about
with the
that.
Scientology part.
Yeah, there's a weirdness to the man and some things that ethics you could talk about, like as a personal human being. But like when I'm talking about the craft of like cinema, the dude gets it, and at the same time, he takes it above and beyond, man. Like,
Yeah, other than in terms of like Western stars, other than maybe Keanu, I don't know if anybody gets it quite as much as him. And Keanu's in that more like Eastern sensibility, like, you know,
yeah.
vibe.
I know why you say that. You're talking hemispheres, because Jackie Chan's the other one that comes to my mind
Yeah.
on the other side of the world,
Like
because
even
that guy,
Dwayne
yeah,
Johnson doesn't really get that
no,
into it, right? Like, but like those two guys, and they took very different paths, right? Like Keanu
yeah,
was outside of one or two movies, never the star, but he was a star. And he's just kind of found that path to being the dude, right? Like now it's the Keanu Sans, right? Like that whole thing kind of happened because of his career of work. But like his level of dedication into like the John Wick movies and such like that. And even in his random side projects, like the level of dedication and like fucking going for itness that he brings to his movies. The
yeah,
only person that's close to that is Cruz.
yeah.
Like those are the only two guys on that level. Like nobody's making 47 Ronin a good movie other than Keanu Reeves.
Well, without the
47
Matrix,
Ronin was a shitty movie.
yeah.
And Keanu Reeves makes it a decent movie.
Well, without the Matrix, we wouldn't have gotten John Wick, because that's where he learned his martial arts.
That's
He
where he
learned his
met so
gun
many of the
training.
people that work on the
He
movie
worked with
too.
movies, yeah, gun training, his military gun training. Everything came from his experience on the first Matrix film, right? So without that, we wouldn't have gotten John Wick, which is, I think, for me, when I think of like in terms of like his career as an action star, Matrix is obviously an amazing fucking film, like one of the like top 50 films that I will watch over and over again. But when I think about like his like stamp of action, I think he's unbelievable as John Wick. Like
Oh,
just next
yeah.
level.
Yeah.
These three films have been phenomenal. So
Can't wait for the fourth. March
oh man,
cannot get here fast enough.
good
Let's
lord, man.
go.
March is a good month, man, for like
There's
content,
some good shit.
TV
There's some
and
dang
movie
good
cinema.
stuff. And speaking of good stuff, we're going to have a breakdown episode sometime next week.
Yeah.
Maybe after New Year's. We'll see how time works out. Like, I didn't plan on having a colonoscopy next week. So we'll stay tuned to Twitter. Stay tuned to our Discord. I'm at MrWartburg, MrWartburg like the college. He's at It's Mr. Fusion. So MR Fusion. It's Mr. Fusion. So stay tuned to our updates there. We will have a 2023 preview and 2022 wrap up episode sometime next week. We'll talk our favorite movies, shows, games, everything we've done pop culture wise in 2022, as well as what we're really most looking forward to in 23.
Yep.
We'll get back to that. So thanks everyone for who's listened so far this year. It's
Thank
been
you.
continuing to be a really, really fun show to make. Every time I get a nerd out with Fusion, it's always a great time. Even if we go on random tangents that sometimes don't make any sense to people listening. And anyone that's listened, definitely, we really appreciate your viewership. Definitely, if you would want to see us continue to grow the show, maybe share it, right? Like leave a review. Help out the algorithm a little bit. Let us know. Hit us up on Twitter if you listen to the show. Stuff like that. Because not every platform you can leave a comment on. Maybe next year we should open up an email,
An
something like that.
inbox.
If we grow, I do have an email for us. I just never
Okay.
use it because I tied the Podbean into my personal email just to make it easier. But yeah, might have to think about that for next year.
Something to think about for next year.
Year 3. What are we gonna do for year 3? Our
Little
anniversary
mailbag,
3.
little mailbag love every
Yeah.
now and then. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's gonna wrap it up here for us on this episode number 56. I'll hopefully have it out by the weekend before Christmas is here. If I don't see you or talk to you before then, Fusion, hopefully you have a good holiday break. Same to you, viewers.
You as well, my friend.
So I'm gonna take a break here. And since we're live, I'm gonna play some Overwatch. Unless you want to play something, Fusion. I'm
No,
game
I'm
for
gonna dip
whatever.
out. I'm gonna dip out for a little bit. I'll probably won't jump back on until later tonight, just because I gotta go spend some time with the family.
Oh,
So,
understandable. Oh, speaking of, what's your big holiday plans?
just
What do
gonna
you do?
hang out. We don't really do much. I normally cook on Christmas Eve, but we're getting takeout this year because she doesn't want me to cook. And then we're just gonna hang out, open little gifts, and that's really it. And then she's got a lot of work lined up, unfortunately, right after Christmas, so she has to get back to work. But I'm gonna hang out, play some games the week
yeah.
I'm off. And
I got a 4-day weekend. I'm excited.
oh, I got 2 40 weekends. Yeah, 240. No, I've got just got a massive 10-day stretch here where I'm off. So
Yeah, way to go.
But then again, I work 60 some odd hours a week, so
Yeah, it's more than I work.
It's a much deserved break for me, man.
That is very true.
I'm gonna play some games. Definitely, we need to jump on some stuff. I do want to do a Fall Guys night. We got to talk about getting folks together for a Fall Guys night. I'm getting into Fall Guys now. It's a game I'm really liking, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great game. Can't wait. We might have some community nights with that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll need to do that, and then I got to break out the PS5 because I got to play Ragnarok. That's all. I got a lot to do, man. Got a lot to do this break.
All right. Well, let's get out of here officially now. We're gonna actually wrap
we're
up.
out.
Goodbye. Everyone have a wonderful holiday break.
Happy holidays.